would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Jarvis?
Here.
Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner Schneider?
Here.
Commissioner Warren?
Here.
Commissioner Zender?
Here.
Commissioner Kenny?
Here.
Chairman Rowe?
Here. We always start our meetings with a prayer and pledge of allegiance. Kyle, you want to lead some prayer this morning?
That might be today's, I'm not sure.
Our Father, we join together today to again consider the business of the County of Lapeer. We ask for your wisdom and your direction as we consider big and small issues, and we hope that what we do is done well for the citizens here. We ask your blessings upon all of the staff who serve and special protections for those who are more at risk. We ask for your blessings upon the people of our community and the many challenges they face. But most of all, even though at Thanksgiving we said our thanks for the many blessings we have, we can never thank you enough, give you praise enough for the many things you do for us. We're blessed, even though we so often take that for granted. Thank you for what you do, how you guide us. We look forward to that as we come into the holiday season. We ask this in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before the board, you'll see today's agenda. It's got I guess it's an addition. Under discussion, interim county control administrator, the board will go into closed session under labor.
Make a motion to move for that adjustment.
Support. All in favor of the motion, so say an aye.
Aye.
All the same sign, motion carries. November 17th, 2022, regular board meeting minutes. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
Make that motion to approve.
Motion by Warren, support by
Purposes and.
Sorry, I forgot to say my name.
all right. Who supported that?
Linda did.
All right. We got a motion and support. All in favor, soon say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Review of commissioner mileage, expense sheets, grants, and applications going around the dais this morning. If you see anything that you feel is out of place, please bring it before the board this morning. That'll bring us down to elected official department head updates. Would any elected official or department head like to give us an update this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Joseph, friend of the court. Wanted to extend you all happy Thanksgiving. Haven't had that last week, and I want to inform you all that our office will be closed from noon to 1, December 15th, to celebrate a office Christmas party. We have signage up on both floors. We don't traditionally have any hearings during those times, but we would normally be open to the public at that time. But I want to inform you and the public that we will be closed December 15th from noon to 1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Teresa?
Good morning.
Morning.
A couple of updates. I wanted to let all of you know, and also the public watching, that I have scheduled the organizational meeting for the commissioner-elects, and that's going to be on January 4th, 2023 at 9 in the morning. That's a Wednesday. That'll leave us just one day without any leadership because we do come back from the holiday on the 3rd. So the organizational meeting again will be in this room at 9 a.m. on Wednesday the 4th, and then it will allow the chairman and the vice chair to be ready for their meeting the next day on the 5th. So I will be sending a notice all to all the commissioner-elects, but since there are public that attend this meeting and public that are watching on YouTube, I wanted to make that announcement with regard to that matter.
Just, so there's no confusion, normally we did it on Thursday, you're doing it now the day before, so they could be ready for Thursday's voting hearing.
Yes, actually, in some of the reading that I've done, it's supposed to be the first day of business of January. And we've never done that, except in very long time before I came, apparently that was done. But when it's held on the day of the meeting, it's lots of things.
This was
going on.
gonna be even crazier, so that's
And
good.
so it actually, I thought as a courtesy to the incoming board, so that they're seated and any decisions are made at that organizational meeting. Plus, the exciting thing is I get to schedule it, so that's what I'm doing. And then on another topic, late yesterday in the email I got from the Bureau of Election two, what they're calling partial recount petitions with regard to Proposal 2 and Proposal 3. I have not gotten through all of the reading yet. It looks like certain precincts in the state have been targeted for this recount. And when this sort of things happen after an election, it means that all of our local election materials are held under security until the recount process is completed. And since these are statewide proposals, I can't really predict what that's gonna look like, but any recounts usually are locally are held under the guidance of the Board of Canvass. So basically, I wanted to let you know that I received those about 4:45 last night, so I assume there will be things in the news and so on, but going forward, we'll have a plan and the guidance from the Bureau on what Lapeer County precinct's obligations will be with regard to those two recount petitions.
These recounts, are they like what we've seen before with the audits that come through every year or every election?
The audits would be after any recounts. The law provides for recounts to be petitioned for a little brief time frame after the State Board of Canvass certifies, and they certified on the 28th. So these recount request petitions were within that time frame. So then that puts us out for any audits that we're going to be doing.
Okay, so these aren't the audits, these are someone who petitioned for the recounts?
Yes.
Just in specific areas?
Yes, it appears that way.
Do you know what I don't know what the purpose of a recount, if you're not gonna recount the whole thing, why recount it all, I guess?
Actually, I'd be happy to forward what I got because it's kind of lengthy. And it's a person named Jerome J. Allen. And he's indicating a number of reasons for that. And for instance, in the recount proposal 2, the attachment is listing random counties and random precincts throughout the state of Michigan. And then for the recount petition for proposal 3, they're same individual, and it's a much larger list of areas that are targeted for the recount. An agency called Election Integrity, who's FOIA'd many things from my office, has sent an email also to say the recounts are beginning. So I don't know what the purpose is if they're not recounting people every precinct.
Teresa, are we targeted?
Pardon me?
Is anybody in Lapeer County targeted for recount?
There's, from a quick review, it looks like one precinct, City Bentley City 2 is listed on the proposal 3 recount petition, as I'm seeing it right now. But again, these just came in, so I haven't.
Okay.
But would you like me forward?
Yeah, and then I'm guessing they pay for the recount?
I'm guessing they do, yeah, that's all at the state level. And after the election in 2016, when Dr. Jill Stein required a statewide recount, the fees for recounts changed because she lost the election. She got 2% of the vote, yet she created a recount to the state of Michigan.
Thank you.
One other question on
Yes.
on your meeting and on the hopefully on the Wednesday, will that also be televised so that people can see? It's not a normal commissioner meeting, but it'll be part of that, so I think
I
it should be
presume
televised.
it can be, I mean, if it's held in this room, the same kind of audio or that equipment is available. So I would hope so, because anyone interested that can, if they're not able to physically personally attend, they can watch. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'll ask administration about that. Yes.
When you have to do those recounts, is the local reimbursed for any of the costs of doing that?
That is really a good question, because if we have a local recount, the county is reimbursed by a mechanism. If it's a state recount, I have to look into that, that's a good question. Yeah, because there's a lot of special things, it's done by the Board of Canvas, they're here, we have to hire trained election inspectors to be present to do all of the process. And it's a moving count, so it's going to be depending on how the ballots and everything, so that's the question, I'm looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other elected officials or department heads like to give us an update this morning?
Good morning. So I have some updates for you guys. December is one of our busiest times of the year, mostly because it's cold weather. We have lots of welfare checks with the animals. We have a lot of abandoned animals. Holidays, people think that they cannot afford them, so they're either surrendering them or they're dumping them. We have already seen kind of a surge already since Thanksgiving. To help combat that, we have partnered with Bissell Pet Foundation. So we are partnering with them December 1st to the 11th to reduce our adoption fees to just $25. So you'll adopt like normal, you still fill out our adoption application, you'll schedule a meet and greet with the staff member, bring your family and your dogs to meet our animals, and then you get that reduced adoption fee of $25, and then we get reimbursed for the difference from Bissell. All the animals that are eligible are spayed, neutered, vaccinated, carbon tested, or leukemia tested, and they are also microchipped. So that's amazing that we were able to do all of that through the nonprofit Friends of. They pay for most of that, and then through donations. December is also a big month for us for donation drives. It is when we collect the majority of our dog food, cat food, supplies, treats, things like that, and then we kind of store it throughout the year so that we never run out. We are having boxes at various businesses throughout the county. So if anybody has a business that they would like a box at, I have extra boxes. There's going to be one at Lapeer TSE, Big Light in my city, Glamour Paws, Kelly's Pet Salon, J&J Liquidation, and then the Bell's Salon. So that's what I have for you guys. Any questions for me?
I did have a quick question for you. I know on, I think it was Thanksgiving, there was a situation up in Deerfield where someone just literally dropped a dog off in the trailer park. You guys were busy, which I'm not surprised. I mean, it's hard to do that kind of stuff on a holiday, but I was
Can't hear you.
curious. Oh, sorry, I was curious. Do you have any sort of systems of like volunteers who would be willing to, who could go out and temporarily?
So the problem with that situation is that our office was never actually contacted about it until the dog was found deceased.
Okay.
So for us, that is a huge error on all the people that knew that that dog had been dumped. They knew that it was out there in the cold and nobody called and reported it.
Gotcha.
So it still makes me upset and very mad that that was not reported because people just said, oh, it's just a dog and they just left it. And it was a dog that we would have gladly went out after hours, or I would have went out in my personal time and would have picked it up. We've done it 100 times, but nobody called. So we don't know about it and we can't take care about it if people don't report it properly and go through those channels.
Thank you for clearing that up, because I know they even said that they did call, but I'm going to assume that
No,
they
they
didn't.
And our Facebook messages are all forwarded to our phones throughout the holidays. I constantly check those to make sure there's something that we're not missing. Nothing. So that's really a shame for that community that nobody sought help for that animal.
Thank you for clarification.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other elected officials or department heads like to talk to this board this morning? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close elected official department updates. Bring us down to first public time. Would anybody like to address this board during the first public time?
I'd just like to introduce myself. Mr. Henning asked me if I would consider being reappointed to the Genesee Lapeer Shiawassee Commission Planning Board. And I filled out an application for that, and then he requested that I make an appearance at the meeting. I've served on that board for, honestly, I don't know how many years, probably 10 or 12 years, I'm guessing. I currently serve as the chairman, have been for a number of years. Board meets every other month, fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. Be happy to answer any questions you might have about it, but I would certainly be willing to serve. Mr. Henning asked me if I'd be willing to serve another 3 years, and I said, well, I will at least go another year or two, and we'll look at that third year, but I would certainly let you know in advance if I'm not able to continue. Be happy to answer any questions anybody has about me or that role.
This is public time, right, so it's different, but if you could introduce your name to the public so they know who you are, speaking to them.
I'm sorry, I thought I did. I'm Rick Van Haften. I've been a resident of Lapeer County since the early 1970s. Retired as superintendent of North Branch Area Schools in 2002. Since that time, I've worked as an interim administrator with Lapeer Schools. Also worked for Central Michigan University as a student teaching supervisor. Last couple of years, I've been fully retired. I live on Devonshire Drive in Lapeer.
Thank you for serving on the board.
If the board is interested in appointing anybody in addition to serve on that board, there are some openings on the board, and they would certainly welcome anyone else from Lapeer County who might like to serve. And I do have a check. It's not a big check. Apparently there's a kind of a budget reconciliation, and they knew I was coming here, so they asked me to deliver it. I think it's $107. And it's just kind of the budget reconciliation process. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, thanks for serving.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alan Pierce, Hadley Township. Based on our county clerk making the announcement that there is going to be some kind of recount. I am a trained election inspector as well as my wife. We both volunteered to do it free gratis. We don't want to be paid for doing it. We'll just donate it back to the county. So if and when that does happen, you have at least 2 election inspectors that are trained, that are willing to do it, no matter whether it's reimbursed by the state, the county, or us, the people. We, the people. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Rose Navarro from Lapeer Township, and I also was planning on coming up to tell exactly what he just said. I'm a trained election inspector, and I volunteer my time to do a recount anywhere in the state of Michigan that they need people to recount. And thank you very much. I hope you have a nice Thanksgiving.
Good morning, Carol Wynn, Marathon Township. I would also volunteer to do any type of service with the election recount. A lot of things have happened this week, but the Defense of Marriage Act that is going through the legislative process right now does not give more freedom to a certain group of people. It was designed to take away the rights of and attack the religious freedoms of those whose God honors marriage between a man and a woman. We are told by Jesus in Matthew 10:16, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. This is not a curse. This is an opportunity for us who believe in right. I am very happy about the America's Project, who has funded the Election Integrity Force to do a partial recount of Proposal 2 and 3. I'm also very thankful for all of those who not only question, but go forward until they get all the answers they need. I am also thankful for those who have tried to impose tyranny on the people, because it has caused us to use the gifts we were given by God, which are intuition, wisdom, courage, and perseverance, when we call upon Him. Thank you.
Anyone else like to address this board during the first public time? Kurt?
Yeah. I went up to that certification meeting in Lansing on Monday, and the room was packed. 150 people in the main room and 80 more in an overflow room. And the meeting went on for 5 hours practically, with numerous objections, challenges, and, questions about why they didn't perform certain duties that they needed to, and they said it was not within their jurisdiction to investigate. Well, if you don't investigate, you can't do your job. And it was disgusting. 2 people were thrown out of the meeting, they were so mad, and, well, I always get too, but. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else like to address this board during the first public time? Hearing and seeing no one, I'll close the first time. Moving on, doing old business, Health Department, Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Eagle Grant Agreement. We have a motion to approve that grant agreement.
Motion by
Steve
Miller.
has jury duty. So he couldn't be here.
Do you guys have any?
It's a little bit more than it has been in the past, but it's same.
The motion was made, I'll second it. Rick Warren, second.
Motion by Miller. Okay, we have a motion to support. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion carries. 71st District Court, Drug Court Grant, and Mental Health Court Grants. So I have a motion to approve those. Aye, how are you?
I'll move it again, Miller.
I'll support with request on some minor language changes. The clerk brought it to my attention, and it's just housekeeping, and I fully concur that on the 2 draft motions, it's kind of hard to tell which one is for the drug court, which one is for the mental health court. So on 2A, the proposed wording change is on the 4th line when it says 40th Circuit Court. Right after that, to insert which provides funding for the drug court. And then on motion 2B, same thing, but in reverse, that 4th line after the 40th Circuit Court, just insert the words which provides funding for the mental health court. So.
I'll accept that, and I'll also change my motion to move both 2A and 2B.
I would support Schneider.
You got a motion and support. All in favor of the motion?
Quick questions, any contract changes? The amount is similar to?
Very,
past
very
years?
similar, from last year. What we requested on the mental health court, they gave us almost exactly the same amount, 2,000 less. But on the drug court, they gave us $500 less. So it's almost identical. Our numbers are still going up. I'd like to see them continue to go up and keep growing this program. And I know then, once the program grows, then the state will say, okay, your program is growing, we'll keep giving more.
Just for information purposes, how many people could we say in the year went through drug court and?
Right, currently we have approximately 11 people in there.
Okay.
And they've been there for the whole time. It's approximately a 2-year program, so I would say between 11 and 13. We haven't we've only graduated 1 this year so far, so they're newer to the program.
That's drug court, mental health court.
They're both 2-year programs,
Okay.
so
Numbers,
between the same. We have less in drug court than we do on health court. I would say it's about currently 7 for mental health court, 4 drug court. It's where it many times overlaps. And it's just which one community mental health feels they match more with sometimes, and if they've had treatment with through that. So
maybe for the benefit of the audience, new commissioners included, purpose of these 2 grants are?
the purpose of these grants are to not criminalize the charges. So they're coming in to get treatment. Many times, I was a criminal defense attorney, I would say 99% of my clients had some form of addiction, some form of mental health treatment. The mental health then leads to the drug addiction and leads to them being in court. So if they qualify for the program, they cannot be any violent felonies. Obviously, we're not gonna accept some serious violent felonies. We do accept, though, domestic violence, things like that. If the mental health or the drug addiction has led to this crime, the defense attorney will then request to see if they qualify. Once they go through the steps, they have to be a Lapeer County resident, otherwise they cannot receive services through community mental health. Then the program is to help them remain on their medicine, to continue what they're supposed to be doing, or to remain clean. And that's a challenge many times, and many times it's 4 steps backwards to get 1 step forward with it. But that is the purpose, to make them more productive citizens. So it's not just going through the same system and not receiving the healthy treatment. I would like to see more attorneys requesting. I think it's underutilized. But thank you. So we're all set on that, so? Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion by Miller. We got a
Support by Schneider.
support by Snyder. All in favor of the motion to approve?
Aye.
Oh, same sign, motion carries. 2023 police service contracts. Apparently, they must not be ready this morning.
They are not.
They are not ready.
Mr. Chairman, I would request that we move that next week's committee to hold with the board act. This way we at least have authority.
Well, we'll have to have a week to review the contract.
Oh, yeah, but I'm saying, just, we never know when we need to take some type of action. that has authority.
Right, I understand.
Do we need to give ourselves authority? I mean, is this something that's gonna be immediate?
No, actually, it's gonna be the committee of the whole,
Yeah,
so it still have to go to full board.
well, not if we give ourselves authority.
Right.
Yeah, but you don't you want a week to review it?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And something as important as this, I'm just saying it's better safe than sorry. Let's say for some reason, we don't get that email and we get a chance to review it. And for some reason, timeliness, they need to get it out so that this happens or this happens, or we want to make some particular change. We would have no authority to take action next week. All we gotta do is make this motion and continuing something forward with something that we had authority to do today.
Kyle?
On this process, I think we're a little slower than normal. If
Lots
we,
slower.
okay, I was trying to be generous. So our step here is to approve the language so it can go out to the township so they can consider it. And then I think, isn't there then one more vote on our part? So we have
to
some.
vote. So we have to sign the
So I think that's a good idea to try to get it going. Hopefully we get the version so we have time to review it. Well,
So Mike, they're not sitting on my desk yet.
So it's to refer next week with authority to act is the motion.
Right. Notice of appointments needed.
Oh, we have to vote.
We done talking or do we vote? Well, okay, because we just need to vote to move it. I need, do I have the motion?
Motion by Schneider, supported by Schneider.
All right, we got a motion and support, all in favor, signal say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same side, motion carries. Are there any other appointments needed?
Yes, sir.
Before you go.
I have some.
Go ahead.
I'll be more glad here to kick the ball off. And for the benefit of the new commissioners of the public, but we've discussed this a lot. So the Lapeer Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit, public-private partnership, and it has an appointed board of directors that represents the financial banking industry here in Lapeer County, the utilities in Lapeer County, manufacturing, certain government representatives. So about half of those board of directors, their position is assigned based on their status. Like, for example, there is a seat for the Board of Commissioners that I've held for the past 20 years. So the next board would make that appointment. The county administrator controller also has a seat on that board of directors. The township has a seat, the village has a seat, the two cities have a seat. And then, like I say, the utilities have a seat. And after that, it's more at-large manufacturing and the hospital has a seat, the schools, the ISD has a seat. The Lapeer Development Corporation serves as Lapeer County's Economic Development Commission. They also serve as Lapeer County's Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. So if there are any projects that require a brownfield review, the LDC takes care of that for the county rather than that being done here on the board. Same thing with all the economic development initiatives, and they raise the funding necessary to do that through donations, primarily their Economic Development Club, which has educational speakers during the course of the year. And then the government entities all kick in some dollars, manufacturing and major employers in the county kick in dollars. That's how that entity works. So when there's a change in the Lapeer Development Corporation's board of directors, every once in a while we have to make reappointments under either Brownfield or Economic Development Corporation because they're statutory. They have certain terms and stuff like that. So the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority names that you see here, there's a few changes. So
I failed to put the revised in, so I'm sorry.
that's okay. I know. I've already discussed this with the clerk to make sure these are all updated. So Bruce Cady is replaced by Judge Mike Nolan. Gary Phillips has agreed to serve. Quentin Bishop's seat, like I say, is going to just remain vacant. The new board, when there's a permanency and an administrative controller, then that person will serve in that capacity. Paul Bowman will continue to serve representing the townships. Michael Connors is replaced by David Trent as a village representative. And Jessica Marco has agreed to continue to serve. So I would make those recommended appointments.
To the Brownfield.
And I'll move them under Brownfield.
Support. By Thunder.
Okay, you made the motion, honey.
Yeah.
And Dial
I'll second.
Brian supported it, so which one?
Dial.
Supported it, all right, Henny supports it. All in favor on those
Gotta see
changes?
your name.
Put in dial, I didn't forget the heading.
All in favor on those changes, signal saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign.
And then, sir, under that same explanation, the Economic Development Corporation, that you see the two of them there again, Gary Phillips has agreed to continue to serve, and Michael Connors is replaced by David Trent. I would make those motions.
And one more for a partial term because of the change in individual would be Michael Nolan for a partial term.
Right, so Judge Michael Nolan, replacing Bruce Cady.
Which is a
remaining
partial
term. So I'll make those, I'll move to make those nominations.
Support Travis.
Make those appointments, rather.
All in favor, signal saying aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion carries. Michael Hemmingson and Richard Van Heflin, you just heard Richard agreed. What about Michael? He likes transportation.
I reported last meeting that he was willing, but I heard afterwards that he declined. So.
Michael did?
Yeah, he did. So I did ask one other person who decided at this point he's not interested. So that position, if people have ideas for a new appointment, we know that it's not exclusively roads, but there is a heavy component of roads, so it'd be.
Well, it's roads and bridges, I mean, it's substantial.
It's substantial, so it'd be good to have somebody with that background. So if you want to put on your thinking caps. In the meantime, I'd like to move Rick Van Haften's nomination to continue in that role.
I'll support.
Motion by Henny, support by Snyder. All in favor, signal saying aye.
Aye.
All the same sign, motion carries. Senior Program Advisory Board. This one's gonna be a little different.
We're waiting and letting the new board appoint.
And the new board's gonna have to appoint these people.
Except for there are a couple elected, right? Positions.
There are 4 spots that are non-appointments. They're by motion.
The Lapeer Center and the Emily Center normally send us a person's name. So we're normally asking them to make a recommendation that we approve. So
I know that A. Wayne Bennett isn't gonna be on it again.
No.
He passed away.
I'm
noted that
sorry,
passed,
this is a bad,
That's just-
it was a
never got-
hurried list, I'm sorry. Next time you see it, it'll be better.
If for anybody who wants to apply for those positions, you need to get your applications into the upstairs to the county commissioner's office. They'll be glad to bring them to us.
So they're gonna have to, make sure that they're 60 years old plus. But that's a requirement for that board. They have to be 60, so. But that's up to the new commissioners to pick those people. You guys just seem to be back there shaking your heads.
It's like, what?
What do we gotta do now?
You guys wait back there?
Yeah. In summary, each new commissioner should be looking for someone within their district that's age 60 or over that would be willing to serve on the senior advisory board. Some districts, it hasn't been hard to find. Other districts, it's been very difficult to find somebody because again, you're talking about seniors and the meetings are held usually here in the Lapeer Senior Center. So transportation and things like that become an issue. So start, if you don't have somebody in mind, start thinking of someone that meets that criteria that might be able to serve within your district in that capacity.
Wow, it's a long ways from Burnside to Lapeer.
And I know from my area, I would be Hadley, which would be Kevin Nisley's gonna be, and Alan Pierce was in that position to put an application in. So if anybody else wants to apply for that, they gotta be 60 or over in that area, but right now, recommendation would be for Alan Pierce in the future, but that's you guys' decision when you get there.
Moving on.
Oh, and then Mr. Chairman, there's one other one on the list here, building authority, and that's a pretty inactive,
Nobody's done anything for years.
I was gonna say, so I don't know whether that just remains vacant for the time being, or if that's just an FYI.
Have we ever filled it?
Yes,
Who was on it?
Richard Voss.
I can make contact with him and see if.
Richard Voss was on
That's
it?
good.
There's a little bit.
Here, it's on there.
Oh, I thought you pulled it out of your memory.
What's that?
He said, wow, that was good. I said, it's on your list. If you just want to tell you what to see.
The outdated list, thank you.
I don't believe anything like that.
This list is gonna change a lot.
Yeah.
What about the Ag Board? Did you,
Yeah, I did make contact with Mary Brown. I was gonna make contact, and I haven't heard back yet. Hope to have it next meeting.
Anything else on that? Moving on, discussion, interim county controller position. We got a motion here.
Probably don't have to read that motion till the end, right?
We gotta read it now, because we're going into closed session.
Not right now. We're gonna go through the rest of the agenda and then go to the closed session, or? That's what I thought.
Why would we do that? That's,
Well, because it'll get through our other motions, allow another public time, and won't be suspended.
Are you on a meeting?
Just asking
Or
questions.
you just sitting over there asking questions like you normally do?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do.
the closed session is further down on your agenda. It's always an agenda item.
Right. All right, well, we'll do everything else then. Is there any other additional items?
Well, under that topic versus.
No, we're gonna wait till we go into closed session to discuss it.
But we do have some stuff that doesn't go into closed session.
Right.
Yeah, one of the topics would be, certainly for me, would be whether we're going to hire a search firm. We talked about Amy Sell, she got a proposal in, and our county administrator made contact with a couple other groups. If he'd like to make a brief report, but I think we should move ahead with making a decision on that today.
Well, coming out of closed session, you ought to make a motion to do that.
That's not appropriate for a closed session.
Yeah, I think it's important for the public to understand that there are certain, in statute, it's directed certain times that you can go into closed session to discuss certain things. But then the action that you take, you come out of closed session.
With the motion.
And you take the actual official action in a public meeting. So closed session is just to discuss certain aspects that are entitled by statute to be within that confidential nature. And for new commissioners, when you're in closed session, that is a private session to where any discussion about it publicly is actually a misdemeanor crime. So you go into closed session to discuss certain things, but any official action that you take, you come out of. So if one of the exceptions is if any of the applicants request that their application be discussed in closed session, because a lot of times people hold jobs and they don't want their employer to know publicly that they're going through this process. So if they request, you honor that in a closed session. But there are many things that we're going to discuss right now, like the interim, that we can do publicly. So the private part of it will be the purpose of reviewing applicant that requests closed session. Hopefully you understand.
Yep. For closed sessions, the exceptions are very narrow. Hiring a search firm would not qualify. So we need to discuss that. Would ask if our county administrator could give us a report on the other two, I think, organizations, maybe allow us to move ahead.
Sure, not a problem at all. So for recruitment services for county administrators and controllers is considered an executive search. And so there's human resources or talent recruitment services that specialize in finding this type of candidate for this type of position. For the 2 years ago, Amy Sell talent firm was hired to find somebody to find me. Okay. So in this process, we've reached out to 3 different companies and we put the word out, and I called MAC. I put the word out also through MML and also through just channels through HR industries that I know, primarily through economic development, because a lot of executives get found that way. So 3 companies that talked to. One, the Next Move Group, they do specialize in executive searches. Talked to them about the process, talked if they'd like to send a proposal in. At the end of the day, the information I received back was essentially a finder's fee. Okay, they're based out of Missouri. That causes its own problems. There was another company that was then submitted by Mr. Roy. They'd reached out. He forwarded it to me. We'd reached back out. No formal proposals. Again, commission based. Amy Sell was contacted, and her talent firm was contacted about this position, and she had submitted a fully vetted proposal with various options and different categories. So, in light of finding a search firm with a local presence and somebody familiar with Lapeer County, it would seem that Amy Sell and her firm would be suited for that type of work. So we do have a proposal from her. There is a familiarity with her work. So if you'd like to move forward, it would just essentially be hiring the firm as if another vendor, as we would do, right?
The quotes are pretty comparable.
Correct.
And we've had a relationship with Amy Sell in the past, so I would make that motion that we hire Amy Sell to move forward with the process.
And Warren would support it.
Clarification?
Wait a minute, hold it.
Well, we're talking about the firms, the three firms.
We're talking about hiring, so you gotta be careful. Isn't this something for the new board?
No.
This is not, we're not hiring anybody. We're just hiring a firm to search so that they can hire somebody. That's all it is, search firm.
It's
That's all
still
they
the search firm,
The
so,
headhunters.
I don't know,
so
Lenny.
she can bring the applicants forward to the new board so they can choose who they want in that position.
Lenny?
Yeah, and Dial also has his hand.
Oh, he's got his hand up.
I just wanted to reiterate the same comment that I had made before as far as, we spent a lot of money going through the process of doing the wage study for all of our county employees. I think that to hire a professional search firm for such a visible and important position is money well spent, even if we end up with an internal candidate. So I would just point out that, we talked about what roles we were gonna have as a current board and then passing a baton. Current board, we have to make sure that we have an interim in place. January 1st, our administrator, current county administrator controller is gone, and you want an interim to have a period of time to overlap, to pass off all of the important projects. So, day one, January 1st, that interim is hitting the ball rolling. So clearly, that interim appointment is something this board is looking to do for continuity. But then also to start a search, recognizing that the new board is going to choose their permanent. But to start a search, I think is also beneficial transition from the current board to the new board. And let's say that we make an interim appointment, and that interim appointment is an internal candidate, and an Amy Cell Group comes up with their top qualified recommended candidates. We go through, the new board goes through that whole process, and at the end of the day, they end up thinking that, hey, the interim that we've had a chance to see is doing the job well, and we want to make that interim permanent. In my opinion, as a citizen, that is not wasted money. That's money well spent for the citizens of Lapeer County to know that whatever person came from the inside was matched up against the top candidates that a recruiting firm can find, and that person came out on top independently. I think that helps the new permanent administrator controller have a lot of credibility with staff and with the public, knowing that they weren't just given a job because they were inside, that they had to go through this whole process. And if the interim doesn't get the job and we end up getting a great candidate from somewhere else, again, money well spent. So either way, I think it's important for this board to move forward with starting the search for the new board, and then let the new board make a permanent appointment. So that's why I agree with the motion.
He's first.
I wondered if the motion maker and second would agree to specifying which of her options. I would recommend value option, which is half the cost of full option. A number of the functions of the full option can be done by Jordan Clark and other staff.
I'll give a quick rundown of what Commissioner Henning's talking about. Search components for Amy Cell Talent comes down in 3 different buckets: full, value, and basic. The total fees adjusted for full, value, and basic being $17,000 for full, value is $8,250, and a basic version is $3,950. The differences in those search components are basically the number of interview intakes you'll take on, developing and launch community surveys and analyzing results, creating job, inviting candidates to apply for posting. That's the search criteria. That's reaching out and getting people and encouraging them to apply. Developing recruitment brochures, promotion via job boards, screening surveys, so on, so on. Value does include many of the all the basic, some of the full. The biggest difference is the number of interviews that she will do on behalf of the board to vet somebody for the job and make recommendations. The full version is always up to 30 different candidates that she would take the time and do a full-blown interview, which I participated in. It took well over an hour, versus the value, which is the maximum of 10 candidates. So depending on how deep a pool you would want her to sift through, would determine the difference between full and value.
Difference in cost.
Yes. So again, full value 17,000. The value is $8,250, and the basic version is $3,950.
Which the board in the previous went with the full.
Correct. And it was a very, very elaborate, well-done process.
This is such an important position, okay? Why would you want to cheap out on making this? We need the right person for this job. Whoever that is, I think we go with the full.
And so he changed his motion. I'm going to continue my support for that motion with the change.
So do you want to include in that motion then for the full package?
Your motion.
No, it wasn't. It was Brian's motion. So Brian just.
Brian's motion, but he was recommending.
But Brian is wanting his motion to say the full package.
He asked us to do that. That's so. Brian didn't
So
do
as
that.
long as that's clear, and if the board wants the full, my assumption was her staff would have to shift through, what do we have? I think 30 applicants last night.
This new board should not be in a hurry to hire this position. We need to make sure these candidates are all vetted properly and that we really come up with the right person. And if that takes a couple of months, which it usually does, 2 to 3 months, that's the process that we really should go. This is a super important position and it needs to be done right.
And it'd be very detailed. You guys would be very informed of what's happening.
And there's so much the new board already has to deal with.
So let them do it rather than throw something on. But I was going to finish up my.
I'm gonna need some words written down.
Okay, we have the motion right now for the framing cell to be, and with a full.
So it'd be the move.
Let the motion maker make his motion clear to the clerk.
While he's writing that down, I'll just say, it's very important to note that $17,000 for a full package compared to what I remember previously, the numbers being is very, very reasonable. So you're getting a really good bang for your buck from a local person who's done a great job.
And you'll be impressed with the service that she provides. I wanted to add to that because we talked about, we're going into closed session, that's the interim, so no names or anything, because people put applications and we don't know who those are, we're gonna discuss that. We may come out with an interim at the end of our closed session, or not. That's what we'll be talking about, but that has nothing to do with this. This is to get them ready for your full, for you guys to hire the full person, okay?
So
We're waiting for Brian to do the motion.
he's writing it out.
Yeah.
Okay, got the detail for
Quentin, what was the 17,000 what?
Even.
17,000. So just move to hire the Cell search firm in the amount of $17,000 to search for our county administrator position.
I supported it.
Motion by, is that here?
Support by me.
Supported by Warren. You wrote out the motion. You have the motion?
I'll get it from him.
Okay. We have a motion, we have support. All in favor of the motion, so say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign, motion carries.
Sure. Question, now that we've decided that, who should be making contact with her to start that process?
Sure, go ahead and reach out there.
I'll do it. Not a problem.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Any additional items? We do have a properties meeting after this meeting this morning. Draft motions.
Actually, Commissioner Zender, perhaps, Fritz, the only one I'm aware of is ARPA.
Back page you got. So I would move proposed motion 1, which is the ARP committee to purchase for vital record software program the amount of $12,600, which includes software licensing, client service, database licensing, and so forth, with the understanding that the data will be stored on the Register of Deeds server. The county clerk will pay future annual maintenance fees from their department's budgets, and further to authorize the purchase of a scanner for an additional $1,000 from an appropriate vendor in order to scan older vital records. Total cost to be paid from Fund 281.
Support. I had a quick question on that. Is this for things like birth certificates? Okay. And do we currently have a server for that information at the county clerk's office or no? Okay. So will this be a big help, I'm hoping?
A big help, yes.
That's all.
He says a big help, it's gonna be a big help to not only the clerks, but it's gonna be a big help to consumers getting their information too, so everybody's gonna win on that.
Exactly.
Will election records be going over there as well? I'm hoping.
I don't think there's a module for that, but I can certainly ask that company in the future.
So we have a motion and support to approve this. Yeah, that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries. American Rescue Plan Act Committees, I guess we did that one, right?
Yep.
Ad hoc committee updates, any ad hoc committee updates? Guess not. Fiscal planning, budget discussion? Quentin, Jackie?
No, not me.
I will make one comment that we're actively right now working with the unions, going over the wage study, having final discussions. They're considered wage reopeners. We're not negotiating benefits. This is simply to discuss wages and for them to accept the wages. Tomorrow we'll be meeting with 4 separate unions. This will be POAM and POLC. We'll carry those conversations over to Monday. We'll have another union negotiation. And then the final union negotiation is scheduled for December 6th with ASCME. And the intent is to wrap up and ratify the wage reopeners by the end of next week. I'm optimistic, obviously, but that is the goal, to have all things wrapped up, all 11 bargaining units.
Okay, anything else? County audit motion, Scott.
Yes, I move the road commission audit, 1201, and the county audit motion for 1202 with the controller's signature.
Support, Jarvis.
Roll call.
Commissioner Henning,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis,
Yes.
Chairman Ryan.
Yes. Spent $2,496,223 $0.63 of hard-earned taxpayer dollars was gone. Bring us down to second public time. Would anybody like to address the board during the second public time?
Morning.
Morning.
I just wanted to let you know, I have a person that is interested in the senior citizen board from my district. He won't be 60 till May.
I'll bring you back in May.
You can leave it open if you have to, or if you can sit on there until that time.
Thank you.
It is, for knowledge to you guys, it's not easy to find somebody that's in that position either, so you'll probably beat your job.
He could probably attend the meetings as long as he didn't vote. Up to that.
I guess, I don't know. You know,
Because they're
you tell
public
people
meetings.
they can do things that really don't fit the criteria now. You gotta be careful.
Hi, I'm hoping it's public time. Okay, so
It
we're
is.
listening. Anna Pierce, I'm from Hadley Township. This is a question for the board, because you can tell me just how the board works. I was looking at the mental health court grant and seeing all the items that I suppose that you agree to before receiving these monies for the court. And I was looking at item number 8, the religious programming and the things that go into that. It says the grantee will not spend grant funds on a program that has a religious component. And then number 2 it's almost like a conflict kind of thing. Before the grantee refers a person to or provides a person with a program with a religious component, as though the grantee can provide a person with a program with a religious component, the grantee has to do one of 2 things, well, or both things actually. Allow the person to choose whether to participate in that program and ensure that a person who chooses to not participate is not penalized. And 3, there's a third one, provide at least one secular option. That item, I think some people might take issue with. But my question really is, when the board gets a grant, they accept it, do they have the ability to say, well, this is all good, except I don't like this, this, and this? And then how do you go about making that decision if that is even yours to make? So, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else like to address this board during the second public time? No one? Here to see no one, I'll close the second public time. Bring us down to some commissioner reports. Brendan?
Yeah, I got a couple things. First and foremost, I wanted to make a recommendation to all the new commissioners to do something I did. When you have a chance in your board in the county building, I strongly recommend that you go and watch some court proceedings just for fun. It's very informative, especially the drug and mental health court, because I didn't really understand what it was. And it's actually a really cool system that keeps people out of trouble. So I'd very much recommend that you find out when those are and you sit in on them. To the question on the religious programming, because that's something I had actually made note of when I read the original draft on my email. It's there in order to prevent, say, a county from saying you have to go to this program and it's a religious program. So, like, for instance, there was a program down in, I forget which city it was, that did something similar, and they were recommending them go to the Islamic temple down there. I think it was, I want to say it was Hamtramck, I could be wrong about that. There was some drama about it, so they had to make the recommendations that said, no, you can't do that. It has to be, if you want to recommend it, you can recommend it, but you have to have a secular option as well. So you can't force somebody to go to a religious organization that they don't believe in, which fair enough. As far as the rejections, I mean, we can reject the grant in whole. You can go back and say, well, we don't like this part, so exit this part out, but then that sacrifices potentially the entirety of the grant, which, as I said, this program is a really good program, and I would really hate to see it go away if it got caught up in trouble. And the state is always looking for opportunities to cut funding to counties. So there's that. The second thing I wanted to make mention of is something I just heard about, or was made aware of rather. There's a group called First Amendment Auditors. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. I'm not a fan. What they normally do is they go around and they pretty much harass not elected officials, but employees to try and make them say something on camera and then go, gotcha, and send them to court or something. I heard that they were looking at potentially coming to Lapeer, so I just want to make administration aware of that. I'm going to call Sheriff McKenna too, because what they do in cases is they actually, they go to police officers or they find a police officer and pretty much just cuss in and around them and yell at them and try to make the police officer react in a bad way. In my opinion, there's been jerks, but whatever, it is what it is. I just want to make everyone well aware, so maybe let some of the employees know, and especially I'm going to give Scott McKenna a call, let him know to just remind all the officers, don't get pulled into the BS. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Brendan, they're already here. We're already getting them in the township.
Okay.
To follow up on comments about contract provisions, my general sense would be that for state and federal contracts, you're not going to get very far on trying to deal with those. They will either mess you up or you won't have any contract that gets approved. The exception to look at are business contracts, which will often throw all sorts of boilerplate at you as well. Indemnification, what happens if you disagree or you want to get out of the contract, what the dates, what allows you. Those are much more negotiable. And in many cases, you should be going through, along with administration and the departments, to see if there are provisions that are not ones that you want to live by. And occasionally, on the state level, when you get into an individual case, I can remember where the county's been through some ones with the former DEQ, where you have agreements that you will very much make that an individual negotiation. But those are very narrow agreements or contracts. Otherwise, with state and federal government, it seems to me generally a no-win. You mentioned that the two court contracts. I don't know if you looked also at the contract for the health department. I think that got even longer and more convoluted thanks to the federal government and all of the many provisions they stick into stuff or require the states to stick into stuff. You're going to talk about the gala, so I won't.
Yes, the historical courthouse gala is tonight at 5:30. Tickets are still available. You can get them at the door or you can get them in buildings and grounds. They're $50 each. There is an auction. You can bid to spend the day with our sheriff and have lunch with them and tour the jail and ask him any questions you want. We also have for Senator Daley a day with him in Lansing and Flag. There's a couple of baby baskets for a boy and a girl, starting from like newborn all the way up to 18 months, different sizes.
Letty's a good candidate.
Letty's going to be another grandpa here.
Number 10.
So yeah, it's a good time. There's good hors d'oeuvres, appetizers. There's wine, with fellowship, and it's only until about 8:30. So anyone that can attend, I would hope you would support the historic courthouse. And that's all I.
Anything else?
Nope.
Just the one thing I want to say is I went to Fort
for, for Thanksgiving. I was able to find out some better news. Hopefully my tragedy won't be as bad as it is. It is bad, but I still would like everybody to pray for people that out there don't have any home at all. People sometimes think while they're on that island out there that they can afford it. They can't. These are people, someone who's worked their way up like you did, was able to buy a place, and now they live on a place that they can't even, some of them are living in their lanais because they can't even get a place to stay. So say your prayers for those people down there. It's out of the news now, unforgotten. I can tell you when I go down there, when I go on this side of the road, everything looks normal, but as soon as I cross that road, it's a war zone, and it's going to be that way for a couple of years. So please send some prayers out to those people. I told you last time when I left here for Thanksgiving, I didn't bring my folder with me, but that flag up there represented something to me, and it still does. And I will not stop talking about the 35 people that are sitting in DC and nobody's even mentioning to it to this day. Not one leader do I hear speak up about that, because they peacefully protested and got put in prison. There's people in this county, this little area right here, they were there. They could have been in prison, still possibly could, if we allow them to do what they're doing. This country is very, very sensitive, and we don't even hear everybody talk about it. So pay attention to your news, do your homework, search out these people, and look at some old videos and to see what happened, what really happened on January 6th. So I'm glad to hear that they're doing some audits on the election. I'm not opposed to that. Anytime I've encouraged audits on our elections, not because of our county clerks, but because of machines that control things that people don't believe. But when you don't know the other side, you don't have any other options. You have to listen to what the media tells you. There again, we're being censored. And that just tears my heart up that it's happening. I'm going to be moving to Florida. I'm getting excited about moving to Florida. We have politics down there. There's differences of opinions in that area also. But what happened in Michigan right now, some of these situations, some of the rights that were given up in Michigan, tragic. So, but I hope we all understand that we, as leaders, we all have to sometimes speak out about what's going on around us. And not say it's behind the corner, because until it affects your back pocket, most people don't say nothing. And I get a case in point, I talked about it because I was down in the island. I got some good news about they're a little bit more lenient on some of the things that they're going to do as far as permitting. And where I live down there, they have some of the strictest permitting laws down there. And so we're all like, we got to get our house back in order. We can't follow all these to a T. But on the other side where I'm renting, they had some damage in some of the small area of the town. In that town, their city councils are still real strict and tough on their permitting. Where I'm at, which is the strictest in Florida, because everybody on the city council, the mayor and everybody, all lost homes to this hurricane. And I can tell you something, when your pocketbook is affected, you think differently. And those city councils are working with the citizens of Santa Barbara. Just because it doesn't affect you doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to it. Everybody needs to help everybody. And that would be my last statement for today. I'll be back on the 15th, and then I'll be the last time for the year for me. So, but I appreciate serving this county. Thank you.
All right. We have a properties meeting following this meeting. And we're going into closed session. I don't think that'll take too awful long, but I would guess 11 o'clock, we'll be going for properties upstairs, 301.
You said it wasn't going to take very long. You just do this.
Anything doesn't take too long. It usually takes about 3 hours.
Jinx.
That's all I got. And just a reminder to everyone, again, it's an important decision. When we come out of closed session, oftentimes we'll make, we go back into, at that point, the meeting goes back into public. And we'll go ahead and we'll make a motion. So a lot of times when we go into closed session, then everybody leaves. When we come out of closed session, we make a motion. That's still a public meeting. So for some reason, you leave because we're in closed session for an extended period of time, you can always, check the YouTube channel or see if any motion was made. In this particular case, if we're not real long in closed session, we may end up making some type of motion decision regarding interim. I'm not saying we will, I'm not saying we won't, don't know. But if for some reason we do, it would take place after the closed session. It would not take place in the closed session. So more than welcome to stick around and see if we make any motions. And if we don't, like I said, you can always check back with the media in some form or another.
Too. Well, I had a pretty good Thanksgiving. 22 people showed up, which was good. I don't even like turkey.
He said, I don't like people.
Most of the time. But back in the 60s, when I was in the Marine Corps, the church reached out for different people to come to different homes and things. And my father, who had fought in World War II, said, that's fine, but no Orientals. So 2 people showed up. One's name was Win Chin Chin. The other one was from Iraq. His name was Bob. I wasn't home then. I was out of the country. But saying that, for the last 52 years, we missed 2 of them. Win Chin Chin has came to our home for Thanksgiving. Because of the COVID, he didn't come for the last 2 years, but he came again this year. He's now 82 years old. Plans on coming again next year. So I was real happy to see him, but we're all getting a little bit older, so trying to get all those leftovers thrown out. But, saying that, I've appreciated being the chairman on this board. I've always appreciated the board. On occasion, we all haven't gotten along about everything, but we always end up with consensus and do that. And I appreciate all of you that come to the meetings and take the time to do that. So in saying that, I'm going to need a motion to go into closed session. Now, when we go into closed session, is there anybody else that you would like to ask to sit in?
Let that as part of the motion.
I can make that motion to enter into closed session to review the contents of applicants for the county controller administrative position that have requested confidentiality, which is provided pursuant to Michigan Open Meetings Act, subsection 8F, and to allow the current county controller, administrator, and chief financial officer to remain in closed session.
I support Jarvis.
We need a roll call.
Point of order. I don't believe that's the correct motion. I think it ought to be changed to say review the content of the application for interim.
And yes, I apologize, and I will add that. We got to change that to interim to.
That's, if you're comfortable with that, just for
Right, and that's
open meetings and other reasons, I think that would be.
I agree. I will make that change. That supports the change.
Yes.
What change are you making?
We're just adding it for the county controller administrator interim position, not a full position, just interim.
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 You want to write that out?
I'll get it from him. I saw he was reading.
All right, we need a roll call to go into closed session.
Commissioner Warren,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Henning,
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Chairman Roy.
Yes. We'll now go into closed session.
Short break.
I was going to say a 5-minute break.
Yeah,